Welcome to the Folktale Project. This is Dan Scholes. This week we're telling 3 Italian tales, and this one's a little bit on the sad side. Actually, no, strike that. This is a lot on the sad side. It has a tiny bit of Brementown musicians thrown into the middle of it, but in the end, it's about a delusional cock and the hen that follows him. This is The Cock That Wished to Become Pope. It occurred once to the cock to go to Rome and have himself elected pope. So he started out, and on the way found a letter, which he took with him. The hen met him and asked, "Mr. Cock, where are you going?" "I am going to Rome to be pope." "Will you take me with you?" she asked. "First I must look in my letter," said the cock, and looked in his letter. "Come along. If I become pope, you can be the popess." So Mr. Cock and Mrs. Hen continued their journey and met a cat, who asked, "Mr. Cock and Mrs. Hen, where are you going?" "We are going to Rome, and wish to be pope and popess." "Will you take me with you?" "Wait until I look in my letter," said the cock, and glanced at it. "Very well. Come along. You can be Our Lady's maid." After a while they met a weasel, who asked, "Where are you going, Mr. Cock, Mrs. Hen, and Mrs. Cat?" "We are going to Rome, where I intend to become pope," answered the cock. "Will you take me with you?" "Wait until I look in my letter," said he. When the cock looked in his letter, he said, "Very well, come along." So the 3 animals continued their journey together towards Rome. At nightfall, they came to a little house where lived an old witch who had just gone out. So each animal chose a place to suit him. The weasel sat himself in the cupboard, the cat on the hearth and the warm ashes, and the cock and the hen flew up on the beam over the door. When the old witch came home, she wanted to get a light out of the cupboard, and the weasel struck her in the face with his tail. Then she wanted to light the candle, and went to the hearth. She took the bright eyes of the cat for live coals and tried to light the match by them, and hit the cat in the eyes. The cat jumped in her face and scratched her frightfully. When the cock heard all the noise, he began to crow loudly. Then the witch saw that there were no ghosts but harmless domestic animals, and took a stick and drove all 4 out of the house. The cat and the weasel had no longer any desire to prolong their journey, but the cock and hen continued their way. When they reached Rome, they entered an open church, and the cock said to the sexton, "Have all the bells rung, for now I will be pope."
"Good," answered the sexton. "That may be, but just come in here."
Then he led the cock and the hen into the sacristy, shut the door, and caught them both. After he had caught them, he twisted their necks and put them in the pot. Then he invited his friends, and they ate with great glee, Mr. Cock and Mrs. Hen. And that is The Cock That Wished to Become Pope. A story that ends in a way that, you're not actually expecting it to end that way, but it makes complete sense. It's not really a fairy tale where the cock becomes pope, it's reality, where a cock walks into a church, crows, and then the sexton kills them, and they eat them. Which is sad, but you find yourself at the end wondering, well, what did you expect to happen? This is Dan Scholes for the Folktale Project. Don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, Overcast, anywhere you like to get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at Folktale Project. You can find us on Auto Radio, TuneIn Radio, anywhere you like to listen. And you can always head over to folktaleproject.com, where you'll find a new story waiting for you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. As always, thank you so much for listening.